Well, hey folks, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. So let's see if I'm up and running here. I've got some social media tags to hit on the way. Tags to hit. Yeah, sounds like that's going through A-OK. So let me drop down the volume there, and I'm going to grab up the link here, drop it into the X Twitter accounts, which I'm at Phil Kearney. If you want to catch my shit. Let's see. I have to post a bit on Discord, so I'm going to see if I can say distracting words to the audience, so you'll stick around and not bail. Hold on here. Beep, 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 beep. I want to go to. I thought I had this more planned out than I do, but sad, I don't. So we're gonna figure this stuff out real quick. So let's see. Live streaming, Eberron, encounter maps, exclamation points. So yeah, I create role playing games. I illustrate them online. I illustrate them. I publish them online. I also do all my illustrations here on YouTube as well. So you can tag along and check out what we got going on here. What we have on screen is the book cover that we created for the adventure that we're designing right now, which is called Crystals of Mabar. It's in the Eberron campaign setting. I've been an Eberron enthusiast pretty much since the setting came out. I quickly adopted it as my go-to home world for playtest, like for homebrew, and just normally running around in the campaign. Use it currently for 5th edition, highly modified. I have no canon at all when it comes to Eberron. I just like the world and the geopolitics and the setup of it. It just resonates with me as a place that I can really just break apart and rebuild. So, but this is a more traditional campaign setting, using as much canon as Stuart Braz, our editor, is able to help us cobble together to make a new storyline that exists inside the space. So. Let's see. Let me fix my screen here real quick. We'll get to work. So we've been creating this adventure. Hey, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Hey, new subscribers. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you. Like, subscribe, bell icon, get notifications here. Here's the full playlist of all 247 episodes so far of us creating various maps for this project. All the creature tokens. We're almost done. We're almost done with creature tokens. We, of course, made this book cover. What'll happen is if you check out my Spelljammer stream that's here on my channel, you'll see me taking the text, building, putting it into layout so that it fits on the page, creating gaps, and the gaps that are left over in those pages, I'll try to structure so that they're a good spot to put a map element, or token or representation of tokens. Like if I mention Captain Sartell, then I've got the token of Captain Sartell there. So hey, Karen, it's good to see you. So we've built various tokens and pieces, and you'll see me build all that stuff here on stream together. But right now we are going to work on a chunk of descriptive text. Let's see. This is the Sinkhole chamber. This is an so there's three. If you're here, let's go here just so you guys can see what it is that we're doing here. So it's a 3-act structure. There's 6 different plot hooks that can lead you into the encounter, and depending on what that hook is, it naturally lends itself to starting in different points of the adventure, and each has its own outcome. So in the first act, you go to the village and then into the forest, and from the forest into the manifest zone deep in the forest of Karnath. And while in the manifest zone, you can find the cemetery, the sunken fortress, and the topside entrance. So and then as spokes off of that wheel, there are optional encounters to flesh out the time that you spend in each of these regions while you're transferring from one area to another. So at the very beginning of the adventure, you're in a small farming village. You then go into the woods that the village is adjacent to find the manifest zone to Mabar that has enchanted with necromancy the cemetery in that area. There's a sunken fortress, that and a topside fortress. Both of these are defense points for what is an underground dungeon that is basically a research facility for undead, necromancy, darkness practices. And then you have your you have the conclusion to the adventure. And then, depending on what your conclusion is, you have the specific plot hooks that you have over here end up, with different rewards over here, and then different paths to adventure out from there. So you hook in, you go through the adventure, you come out. So each of the hooks have different potential starting points. Like if you're the sheriff, if you're deputized by the sheriff, or if you have family members that invite you to visit their village, you'll start down here in the village. If you are a druid, or if you're hired by the Silver Flame Church to investigate the place, then you could appear in the forest, or you could appear in the actual manifest zone itself, or you could appear actually in the entry foyer of the dungeon itself, the final encounter, depending on how much time you want to spend inside of the adventure. So you can spend 60 hours doing absolutely everything that's in this grid, or you can condense it all down to a one-shot in about 3 or 4 hours here to just get teleported in, find the MacGuffin, or fight the bad guy that's designated your target, and then get out and get your reward. So as you move further up the hierarchy here, you know more about what's going on, and the people that know the least are the people that are most emotionally attached to the area. It's fun. So hey, what's up? I know it's been a while since I've been on stream, so life has been busy. Yeah, man, everyone's busy, and it's all a volunteer army. So Karen, thanks for showing up at all. So these little spokes are what we're working on. We already have the map for the town. We have all of the maps for the dungeon, topside entrance, cemetery, and flooded fort. Those are all done. At this point now, the forest has one set encounter in it, and then has a bunch of optional encounters that you can add in as necessary to pad out the amount of XP, encounters, and content that you feed to your team based on your objectives as a DM for how large of a storyline this is supposed to be. You can skip the forest completely and just narrate, hey, yeah, you go through a forest and you end up in a foggy domain, which is the manifest zone to the Plane of Mabar. So you could just skip this act you could just skip all this altogether if you want to in a one paragraph narrative. Hey, you get hired by a village to go check out this creepy fog zone. So you go through the forest until you find it. It takes almost all day to get there. Do you want to camp out, or do you want to explore in during the darkness? You can start it off that way and completely skip the first act. So like everything else that I build, it's incredibly customizable. So we are currently working on one of the optional encounters in the manifest zone. We're working on encounter number 3 right now, or C in the diagram, which is a sinkhole chamber. So the adventure's coming. So the manifest zone is a swampy, foggy area that's inside the manifest zone of Mabar. So the necrotic energies of Mabar is slowly disintegrating and basically breaking down the cell structure of all the plants that are in the area, turning everything basically into a necro slurry, like a wet mud. Plus it's raining a lot, so this muck is mixing with the rain to make like this often flooded plain that you're sloshing through, sometimes knee deep, to get from area to area. And it's all fog laden, so you can only see clearly 20 feet, and then things become partially obscured another 20 feet and then disappear altogether. So no, it's 40 and 80. So you don't have up top it's 40 and 80. Once you actually get into the dungeon where the manifest zone is originating from, the fog continues to condense to 20, 40, and then you can't see beyond that. So there's a high level of oppression, but that little bubble of space that you can see inside of allows the DM to basically just add obstacles or add new challenges coming through the mist as the team is waylaying through there. So they're kind of literally like hoofing around blindly and then running into undead or running into terrain or structures or whatever is next. So the DM can just line up whatever you want in front of them. They don't have a lot of visibility. If you have a familiar or a scout sort that you can send ahead, they just run into what you have planned sooner than the rest of the team. So it's really easily structured that way and really compartmentalized. So you want to have like congestion, claustrophobia, being limited senses is a large piece to how the tension gets maintained throughout the adventure. Once you get into the manifest zone, everything just kind of closes in around you, which is the intended feeling while you're in there. You could easily transition this into like a Ravenloft sort of thing if you wanted to. Like in the dungeon, it leads off the paths that take you into Ravenloft instead of Mavar, for instance. Once you get into the mists, maybe you can't get out at all. Like that is the Ravenloft mist. You can play it that way if you want. So let's check this out. So the adventure comes into a sinkhole. So while you're running around in this thick mist, not knowing what's going on, the adventurers come to a sinkhole, revealing a long-forgotten buried chamber beneath the forest floor, and now full of undead animated by the manifest zone. When the heroes approach, they will see the sinkhole leading down. 3 ghouls will crawl from the hole and attack the closest character. Another ghoul will emerge every round until 20 total have climbed out. Until the characters climb down into the chamber, there's no telling how many undead are within. You can lure the heroes to the hole by having ghouls attack the heroes one by one or in groups of up to 5 at once. The characters can track where they are coming from with a successful DC 13 Wisdom, Survival, or Nature check. Sinkhole chamber map. So we have our chamber map that we're working on right now. And so point number 1 is let's find where's our numbers? We should have numbers. Numbers. I gotta fix this. Free transform. Dump. Let's just merge that down. We'll grab this here. This is number 1, which is the Decaying Pavilion. Number 2. Number 3 is the Flooded Chamber. Oh wait, number 2. And then number 3 is the actual Flooded Chamber. I need to cut that so I can pull that in. Thank you. Number 3 is the Flooded Chamber. And then what is number 4? Buckled Doors. Let's see, Sinkhole is there. Sinkhole is here. A Flooded Chamber. 3 Flooded Chamber. That all lines up pretty good. So that's the space I see it occupying. I have the potential of being able to scoot these around depending on what the page layout's going to end up being. But currently these all align spatially. Like this is the sinkhole that dumps into the Flooded Chamber. And here you can see the side view, but this is all lined up pretty good. This can get scooched though. Checking out my lines here. No, yep, that's on point. We are on point. So my task today is to clean these up into a better presentation. Bloop. Duplicate, merge. This is what we're doing this week. We're doing this map. So let us drop that there. Start down here. Blah, 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 smaller. I feel like, traditionally it's 3, 2, 1. So structural stuff is 3, then 2, then 1. So that was, shit, too late now. 4, 3, 2. Buckle that there, and then here. Fold that in like that. Here. So, hey, what's up, Delver? It's good to see. We are doing some cartography for a sinkhole encounter in the adventure that we're creating for Eberron. So, this is me doing cleanup work right now. Let's see. This is another CAD architectural challenge of me depicting the two. Here's the surface where the dilapidated shrine is at. And then here's a sinkhole that drops down into a sunken chamber beneath, and here is the profile view of that mapping. So it is a minor cartography challenge to depict this space and this space in the horizontal plane. So that is currently what we're doing. Obviously, it's very loose sketch right now, so I'm trying to clean it up to the point where it is matching in quality to the other maps that I've completed here previously. And I'll just show you. I'll show you the cemetery that we did, just to give you an idea of where we're going to end up at. So this is a cemetery this is a colored cemetery that'll be on virtual tabletop that's included with the adventure. It's a 50 by 50 inch map, 300 DPI. This is a cemetery, so here you can see the entrance to the cemetery. These are statue pillars. These are individual little shrines to fallen Karnath military heroes. Here is the major crypt. This is a sarcophagus for the commander of the army this battalion is buried here. So this is the crypt. Here's his lieutenants and sergeants, which we built. They're all undead wraiths now, so they'll incorporeal through the chamber to attack the team. And this is like a massive ghost knight creature. And then here's the flooded. Since this is in the Mabar manifest zone, Mabar is the plane of negative planar energy, undeath, and darkness. This area has been flooded by rains, it's in autumn and it's flood season, so there's lots of water pouring in and filling in these sinkhole areas. But the power of the necromancy energy awakened, granted all the skeletons buried in here sentience and undeath. So they all rose up and they're just kind of running around in the forest, butchering anything alive that they can find. So your team finds out that there's trouble afoot. So each of these swampy areas has mounds of corpses underneath the water that can be just like a monster generator that endlessly spawns undead as a sort of gauntlet style combat challenge that the DM, like if your team likes combat a lot and likes doing tactical stuff, each of these watery sinkholes can be the origin of basically their own monster generator. And then there's the set encounter inside of here, and there's encounters in each of these areas. Over here, there's a hidden passage that leads to the underground lair, and there's also another hidden passage over here that leads to the underground lair. So this is an entry point, a combat-focused entry point. But you could also do it like Scooby-Doo, zero combat, hiding from the undead as you skulk from tombstone to tombstone, from gazebo to statues, trying to, like, the DM can have patterns of undead movement through this area, and it's up to the team to stealth their way to avoid any trouble, avoid the combat-focused crypt, and instead head for the secret entrance here, figure out the trap to open it up, and then lead down into the ladder without having any combat at all. So, or you could reverse it, that you have first level characters that escape the sacrifice pit inside the dungeon and find this escape hatch, and this is where it leads to, in the middle of this fucking cemetery. So the challenge then becomes, how can you unarmed, no weapons, no armor, 5 hit points, creep your way from here to either the front door or this breach exit here, here, and here to escape the chamber, assuming that the walls are too high for you to be able to traverse. Like, you're caught inside this pen. So try to get out. So you can play it both ways as like a standalone adventure if you wanted to. So anyway, this is the level of depth and detail that we'll have on the map that we have. All hail the negative goo. Yeah, and then so there's that, and then for people that want to virtual tabletop, or that people that want to just print stuff out, you can also just have the black and white version of it. So we do the line art. So this is like really simple and easy to read the different terrain and points of interest that are in this spot. Obviously the numbers are horrible right now, but this is a real easy at a glance look. Like the DM could be looking at this simple black and white map just to keep the numbers and your regions open and easy to view, while having the full color map on a virtual tabletop for the team to run around on. Or you can offer either one. You know, if your team likes it simple and tactical, and you don't want to get caught up in the oohs and ahs of the art, then you can just load up the line art version. So the side view here is an opportunity to have a little more. I like doing the profile illustrations because they really help ground that these maps really are just illustrations. I love that. I absolutely love that about a cartography. There. So that's like the active area, like your hitbox area of the actual terrain that the team can traverse. It's like you have to, you can't from a side view, assuming a 2-dimensional map environment. This is basically the area that the team can traverse. So. Maybe I want to frame it differently, like this, and then reduce the mound. So we're on 4-point font right now. 4-point font represents unpassable wall. Generally, when I do cartography, if I'm using 4-point weight, that is something the characters generally aren't expected to cross through. And then I use pixel size 3 and 2. 2 is structural. 3 helps fill in details beneath the 4-pixel line. And then you have 2 pixels, which is further refined detail, and then 1 pixel, which is very delicate, like filigree and stuff. So I'll have those 3 degrees. Now that we've established what our actual hitbox of what is traversable and what isn't, and then we can drop drop the size of our paintbrush and add another layer. See, it's a notable difference in size. And so what we're doing here is we are creating the living grave, and we did the token for the living grave already. I'll show you what that is. Let's go to tokens, creatures. Apparently that's an empty folder right now. Doors and things, landscape, cover creatures and characters. There we go. Act 3 creatures, monster tokens. Here, this is the living grave. So this is what is inside of that pit or underwater. It's just this mass goo of different undead that has an untold number of corpses that are in its mass. So occasionally one just kind of peels, like you can see one over here and here starting to peel out of the mass to become their own free-floating, independent undead to run around. So that's what it does. This goop generates, basically, it seals undeath around whatever corpses are in it. And so when we have this sinkhole space with an undetermined number of undead that are in this pit area, it could be hundreds. It's partially submerged by water, so you can't really, like the water line is here. So like you can't really tell how large of an area this is. It's like the magic pot. As long as you don't look in the pot, it makes stew forever. So this is kind of that same idea. So yeah, I mean, it's an adventure, right? We're writing an adventure. This is something that people I will never meet will potentially use this to run their table through and have fun with for, anywhere from 4 to 60 hours. And so since I'll probably never meet most of the people that make use of this, I have to try to instill as much information about the area as I can with the text that we choose, so that we don't lose anything that they might find fun. So anyway, that's the idea. So for now, I'm just defining the perimeter. And I can just use the power of perspective to create the language about the sinkhole. So the monster generator, the mass grave here at the bottom, or in the water areas of the cemetery, that's where the mass grave is at. So it's only a 5-foot stretch. So any ghouls that sprout out of the pit can just grab hold of the rim and claw their way out, grave style. So when the players encounter this area, they'll be running across, like I said, ghouls crawling out of this mass grave. So like until they go in and shut it down, it can continue to spit out undead as much as the DM wants. So if the team ignores it, they're going to be constantly getting caught up to by packs of undead. Snuff that down. Like that, and then here. So a lot of time I spend a lot of time here on stream talking about the philosophy of DMing. So when you're putting this sort of an encounter into your adventure, you're kind of locking the team into messing around with a bunch of undead for however long you feel they can tolerate it, essentially. And if you know, I'm really leaning into the map. I should zoom in instead. So you really want to understand what kind of a mix does your team have. Like a lot of tables have one encounter per day, simply because it's a lot of work to build encounters, It doesn't have to be, but without direction, we kind of default to the most unproductive way to build our adventures and to spend our creative time as DMs inefficiently. It's just because it's the creative process is not naturally efficient. It's kind of all over the place. So a lot of people's design principles and philosophies are all over the place as well, which is appropriate given the medium. So, but people want to make efficient use of their time. One of the best ways to be efficient with your time is to understand what does your team enjoy doing. So like having one encounter a day means that all these combat resources you have on your character are going to be focused in that one battle. So you need to be, you really, the amount of battles that happen per day is a default assumption based on the amount of resources that your characters have. There's no design notes out there about this, but I'm gonna switch to another layer so we're at 2-point font here, or line weight. There. 1 second. Almost there. Yeah, I don't think there's any kind of documentation out there about what came first, the number of encounters per day the D&D team wanted to have in 5th edition, or the amount of resources they wanted to give each character. Because the amount of resources that the characters have is pretty good for like 6 encounters that require resources per day. Resources are normally consumed by combat. It takes it's a non-intuitive journey to create exploration encounters that require expenditure of resources. Like, you don't choose to spend hit points. Hit points is a resource that your character has that measures if they get to continue playing that character or not. And when you run out of the hit point resource, you stop. You don't get to play that character anymore. It's a pretty basic mechanic, but it's super critical to the narrative of the game. But there isn't a lot of that sort of expenditure of resources and exploration. So if you're going to exhaust a character's resources, or rather until you're capable of exhausting your character's resources, they're going to have, it's going to be more, it'll be easier for them to defeat whatever combat encounter they are currently dealing with, because assumedly they haven't been required to spend any resources on anything other than combat. So when they get into that one combat per day, they're fully loaded. They got a full clip. They're ready to go. So you have to take into account what their resources are, or what kind of challenges are you imposing outside of combat that whittles down their resources, so that you don't have to have such an ornate battle to attempt to whittle down those resources. So these 1 per day battles get really long because the team has so much resources. If you don't stack on if you don't layer in the encounters or the phases of battle or whatever, if you don't make it a long battle, they're going to end that encounter in like 2 rounds, because they have all of their best gear available and they know they're not going to need it for the rest of the day. So they just stockpile power until they actually need it, and then they just do a mana dump. It's really difficult to... Oops, that is the wrong layer. That's really difficult to manage. It's like designing encounters that. Well, you have to understand what your character's resources are in the first place and how they can be used. And by resources, I am almost always meaning spell slots. So you have to build your adventures around what your team's capabilities are, and that includes mana. So you're going to have to find ways to burn out their mana. When you have spell points, it's easier because you can create all sorts of interesting little taxation effects. Like you could open this door if you're willing to spend 2 mana to do it. Yeah, okay, I'll spend 2 mana. Okay, cool. The door opens. Here's what you find. You know, as opposed to like a DC 25 lockpicking check. Take your pick. Well, like spend a point of mana will drop the DC by 10. So it's only a DC 15 or whatever. But that's why I'm so interested in unifying the mana system for all 13 characters, so that you can have language about mana taxes and how to blend your mana resource into the skill checks that you're making. It's a different use of spell slots, quote unquote. But spell slots are so pre-packaged that it's much like if you just have a stack of mana to spend, they're just basically poker chips to bid on how successful your adventure can be. At least that's the way that I approach it. I just want more. I just need more tools to be able to utilize mana in that fashion. So everyone has to have the same. Everyone has to be using the same currency when they're laying down their bets, right? So marshals don't have as much mana at a time. They don't have a big bucket like full casters do, but they can potentially generate more per day than full casters can. It's just parsed out in short rests and action economy usage. So they gain access to it differently than spellcasters. But so the spellcasters being able to nova high-level spell effects is a driving force behind design. Where if you have little mana tax challenges, it's easier for the full caster to just give up some of their mana to help trigger an effect that the martial character may be more equipped to achieve. Like the trap springer, the rogue in your party doesn't have a lot of mana, but if the cleric is willing to give up a couple points, then you can like have this advantage or do this extra effect or whatever it is that you're currently messing around with. Like this trap resets every minute, but if you spend 3 points of mana, it'll be an hour. You know, a 7th level wizard with 36 mana might be like, yeah, okay. Well, they only have 20. The 7th level would have like 25, but still, if it's a significant trap, that'd be totally worth it. So this is filling in pretty well. Stuff is really fun to do. Nice little effects. Feels pretty good. I think I can. Let's move to the middle layer and get font 3. Straighten up those lines a little bit. Just clean it up. Good. Good, good, good. Yeah, I don't think I want that there. I think I want this. Bit. The idea is that the living grave sits on this raised space so that the water overflows and it just kind of it's topography, but it has the capacity for a token to sit in this space here, this 2x2 block here, or a 3x3 block if you wanted, but it should be a 2x2 because you have 1, 2, 3, 4 squares here. You can have the living grave sitting here on a sidewise style, showing that seeped into the environment beneath it. You know what, honestly, now that we're holding that conversation, I feel like we should seep down to here. Yeah, let's do that. Perfect. Maybe something like that. That's more interesting. Something along the lines like that. So the point of all that diatribe was that if you understand what your team, like if your team likes combat, then you should be throwing more combat at them, have more smaller encounters, so you can expend their resources that way. If they like exploration a lot, then focus in like that's like investigation, interrogating people, stuff like that in general. Then definitely include more of that in. If they just enjoy the social pillar, which is not rolling dice at all, then lean into that. I consider anytime you're rolling dice is basically either combat or exploration. The idea of the social pillar is in my opinion like when you're basically just like talking in character or like world building. It's not like if you're interrogating somebody, you're exploring using, instead of investigation skills, intimidation and deception and persuasion skills. It's just a different type of exploration check. Tap there. 7:30. Cool. I still got 20 minutes. So conversations with NPCs get tricky because they weave in and out of exploration and social encounters. Like you could just be talking to somebody and just building out your character's means of communicating with others, as your role playing exploration. Blech. I don't care about in-character stuff like at all. It's I'm very, very, very old school in that I generally view characters as cool window dressing for self-insert. That you're basically just exploring and fighting space with an avatar that's roughly representing whatever ideals or ideas you want to express during the game today. So I understand that a lot of people enjoy the idea of crafting personalities and different characters that they would have act the way that they act. But I'm not interested in acting. I am in the philosophy of gamers that ultimately you want to use this opportunity to be who you are, the bravest version of yourself that you could be, so you train yourself to be brave in the real world. Some people may pick up that trait by portraying somebody in the moment that's braver than they themselves feel that they are. But I think that degree of separation is a disservice to the psychic benefits that can be gained from the role-playing experience in general, because it's allowing you to project yourself into hypothetical situations that have no true consequences, like no risk to your actual bodily harm, right? They are is a safe environment to explore ideas. And I've just always been under the philosophy of, if you're going to explore ideas, why not find ideas that you're going to be more proud of yourself at the end of the experience for having endured. Which a lot of people may feel that's boring as hell. And I mean, I've played plenty, but I also DM a lot. So I like that style of self-contemplation, and a lot of, I'd say most of my like lifelong friends have that same sort of approach to role-playing, that it's a crucible to improve your own courage and bravery. When there's zero consequences on the line, why not be brave? Why not decide what it is that you would stand up for, or who you would stick up for? I just think players will tell you who they are by the way that they want to roleplay, and that for many years was how I determined who my friends were. It's like, I like the kind of people you want to portray in game. I think that's the kind of person that you want to be, and I want to be around you when you are. So. There's that. Take that for what it's worth. I'm gonna leave that out. Just gonna leave this like that. Thin that out a little bit with that. Yeah, I like how that's sussing out. Feels pretty good. I like how that's all sitting together. Feels pretty good. It's a little sloppier than I want it to be, but let's clean that up a bit. Ooh, don't need that line. Now we're minimalizing. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that works. Let's go back up top. Here. Oh, on point. Good. Oh, really? Is that how that sits? Yeah. Yeah, it does. Excellent. Nice. This is all sitting pretty. Right. Clean that up a touch. Okay, good. That's not so bad. Chip in there. You gotta be careful about being too aggressive with your interior space work, because you could end up accidentally carving out a shelf or a step or a new space that you don't necessarily intend to exist there. So I want to be careful here as well. See, this is a minimal profile here. I don't have to justify with like a whole nother plane. Like, I have to be like that. Good. Good. That stands out, right? Yeah. That's looking pretty good. Put a little gap in there for some weathering. That feels right. Not bad. I think that I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And we're just about out of time, so I'm thinking this might be a pretty natural place for me to stop for today. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop here. My day is, my schedule is weird again today, so I'm going to be back on at 11 o'clock, which is like 3 some odd hours from now. We're going to do maybe an hour of Spelljammer, ship cartography, and then I'll be out for the rest of the day. I'll be back tomorrow morning as well to continue this map, and then I'll be back on tomorrow night again to work on additional Spelljammer stuff. We're getting close to done with Vocast Battle Crab, so that's going to be fun to move forward out of the battle, out of the deck plan into the environment where the fleet battle takes place. So if you want to check all that stuff out, like, subscribe, bell icon, notifications, blah, blah, blah. And I want to, that feels about, no, is, like that. And there. There. Let's try to get the line art straightened out. Take your time, timer. Shut that down. It is just about time for me to go. You are correct. There you go. All right. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and stop here for now. When we pick up next time, we will resolve this, the lower chamber, and then this does appear to be smaller than what I have depicted up here, doesn't it? How about that? How did we get that way, huh? How did we find ourselves here? I want to merge this all down. See it. I was right about positioning on the hole, right? Yeah, we'll adjust accordingly, quote unquote. Do that. There we go. Just about ready to bounce out of here. There we go. Boy, I stopped talking, didn't I? Oh well. Well, I'll be back when the day is new, and I'll have more ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about, and I will too. So, yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you. Thanks, Karen. That is it. I am outie. Laters.